as you mentioned, dispute starts somewhere else. Where the exact point is for the disputes?
What the legal fraternity thinks is not incorrect. For a employer or a contractor, it actually starts at the during my first interaction with my lead supervisor. He told me that Unmesh, you need to learn to kiss.
How often do you see this dispute getting resolved without active arbitration reaching to award stage?
I think if I answer this honestly, you guys will close this now only.
Hello everyone. In today's episode of Due Diligence with Rahul, we have Unmesh Kulkarni. Unmesh ji is someone who has been very active in the legal frameworks for various well-known groups across India. The giants names such as Shapoorji Pallonji, where he is currently having a position of Senior Vice President of Contracts and Administration. And in past, he has been associated with one of the top companies and groups of India, such as Reliance, Tata, Siemens, to name a few. Hi Unmesh ji.
Hi.
Thank you for joining us in today's session with me under the brand name of Due Diligence with Rahul.
It's my pleasure.
And today we are going to do some question answer, Unmesh ji. The whole intent and purpose to have this session is to, discover what has been the factors, what have been the encouraging or inspirations that you've taken throughout your career of 34 years, and build your profile, your journey in such a way where you could be part of some prestigious projects across India, and you worked alongside with some big names. And our audience, who are students, lawyers, who are deciding about their careers, they would like to take inspiration from this. For that purpose, I'm going to ask some questions and I'm looking forward to your responses.
Sure, Rahul. Look forward for it.
Thank you. Unmesh ji, you hold qualifications across engineering, management, and law. Now, bringing all these qualifications together for a company, how does this combination work and how did it shape your performances when you're dealing with such complex transactions, EPC contracts, and project-related aspects? How it has been as a combination being helpful for you?
Okay. My arena of profession prominently lies around construction project development. So my base engineering background, that's where it all started with.
Okay.
I started my career with as a quantity surveyor. That's where I got a flair of requirement of having some legal background and also the financing angle of it, which subsequently got enhanced when I transitioned in my journey a couple of years down the line.
Right.
And then I went for my first, I did my MBA in finance from Symbiosis. And then I actually tried for a admission of law in 2009, but somehow it did not went well because I could not able to follow for the third merit list and stuff like that. It was tough for me at that moment. So again, later part when the CET thing have started, I got myself enrolled and completed my LLB full time also.
Okay.
But it helps a lot because the job that we do, that the role responsibilities that we have to deliver, these three combination is a unique peculiarity, and it's a need of the day for that particular position to one having the technical competence to understand the challenges, two financial angle because you deal with the business and you need to support to the business, and three legal because it's a safeguard as well as the proactive steps that you have to take to ensure that you deliver what you meant for delivery.
So technical, finance, and legal, all that brings the perfect solutions for any of the
Largely yes. Largely yes.
Very interesting. Doing law at later part of your career, did you find it difficult to match the other demanding nature of studies, the colleges that are bringing a lot of now new criteria of doing the mock preparations and moot court participations, or was this something that you could, because of your exposure to work that you've been doing since 90s, you could find it easy to go about finishing it?
No, rather it was difficult for me personally, easy for the college.
Okay.
For me personally difficult because unlearning in mid 20s of experience starting early 90s was a challenging for me.
Okay.
though my exposure to the law subject as such was primarily limited to arbitration, labor law to some extent, insurance law, those, but understanding the other laws was quite easy because of that.
Okay.
And I could able to easily correlate with what is given in the book versus what is practically happening, and that was a challenging where I had little tough time with my professors also.
Okay. So actually, when I was in my post-graduation course in University of Nottingham, some of my colleagues, my classmates, not colleagues, classmates, they were taking break from their jobs and they were doing the LLM course with me. And as you rightly said, since they were exposed to the practical application scenario and they have seen the challenges, the book says A thing, but in reality, A is not difficult to easy to implement. And that's where a very interesting conversation used to take place, which was a great experience for us like pure students who never stepped into corporate world. And as you rightly mentioned, the difficulty is in applying the formulas or the learnings or the act that we see in our
It's
law.
more if Rahul is unlearning. This because you were expected to learn as a fresh.
Right.
So understanding that particular concept as a fresher was a challenging as a student at that moment for me.
Agree.
But again, as you rightly said, it was very advantageous for the other students
Yes.
to take pulse or take examples out of my experience and then helping them themselves out.
Yes.
But of course, I could able to sail through that. That's a good part of it.
Nice. So, when you started your career, Unmesh, you have seen many transactions that were happening, though you are from the engineering background and looking at it from technical and finance side to it. But you end up discussing contracts, you end up reviewing it from, technical assessment point of view. And then you did law and then you kind of understood so many other things that goes behind the scenario. With that learning, what is that one reality correction that you now have realized that was earlier a misconception for you when you started your career?
See, when I started my career, the concepts were not that clean and clear because I'm talking about an era of 90, early 90s, 92, where I started my
92.
professional journey. I started in 92. Uh, that time, this computer, laptops were a rare commodity. To have something like this was itself,
Luxurious.
symbol, luxury,
Luxury.
status symbol, and having your own is another thing.
Absolutely.
So the revolution or the availability of the information, Google was not there that time, mobiles were not there that time. So everything has to be through books. So there was a lot of learning used to happen, lot of conversation used to happen with the colleagues and seniors.
Right.
That helped. One of the biggest, mystery at that moment was very few people were knowing actually what is contract administration. Because if you look at the way the functionality of contract administration works, is if you go to Middle East countries or UK,
Okay.
it is termed as a quantity surveying.
Not contract administration.
No, not contract administration.
Wow.
If you go to countries like USA, Australia, New Zealand, it is termed as quantity. It's a contract administration.
Okay.
Now, there the actual quantity surveying is a subset of contract administration, but treated independently.
Okay.
Whereas in UK and associated culture, wherever UK culture have come, there it's a combination more emphasized on the quantity surveying, a little bit of contract, and then the commercial part comes in a picture.
Okay.
So bridging these three different subjects and ensuring that you encompass a grave and better understanding of that helped a lot to me. And then subsequently, as I grow in my career, as I started moving from one job to another job, that clarity has come more and more.
Nice. Does this quantity survey part mandatorily require the person who is in charge of that activity to be a legally qualified person, or some of the countries or companies would also bring non-legal professionals also for this?
So it doesn't require legally qualified. Where I was legally qualified just now, but I was heading the department since 1999.
Okay. But it used to involve reading contracts.
Yes, not only reading contract, formulating contract, discussing contract, negotiating contract, settling disputes. My first assignment when I started with Siemens was to start with to evaluate the dispute with the contractor.
Wow.
So it started with the quantity surveying. That means actually extracting quantities from the drawings for entire power plant above ground.
Where was this power plant?
Urant.
Oh.
Combined cycle power plant at Urant, which was built by Siemens for MSAD.
Which year was this?
92.
Wow.
Okay, my first 6 months of my employment was sheer nothing else, no task other than every day morning go sit for 10 hours, take the drawings, take the extract the quantities, doing nothing other than just go back and check, cross verify that with the site, whether actually it has been done in that or not. So it's a double verification. Then my calculations was given to the subcontractor to with whom we had a dispute because we had contractors assessment to do.
Right.
Then there was a deliberation or negotiations on the differences between what my extract was, which I did on behalf of Siemens, and the issues raised by them, along with my senior quantity surveyor, and that's where the negotiations and contract discussions have started. Then it slowly went on unfolding to the other aspects of dispute management, which we typically comes up. If you really see, litigation become at very fag end,
Okay.
but it's actually starts at the tender stage.
My next question was this only. In terms of, deciding as to what are the factors, because many lawyers think that dispute comes as a outcome because during the performance of the contract, there are failures on the parties, one of the parties, and that gets into a dispute mode. According to you, is it a correct understanding, or as you mentioned, dispute starts somewhere else, where the exact point is for the disputes?
What the legal fraternity thinks is not incorrect, but that's a middle stage where it's come. For a employer or a contractor, it actually starts at the tender stage itself.
Tender stage.
Yes.
Tender is when you are inviting the interests
Yes.
of the potential partner who is going to be a contractor or not, but they are yet to start the relationship. How does dispute can develop there?
Now, if you must have observed in your career also, in the initial tender stage, the first step comes in the pre-tender queries. Correct?
Yes.
Now, when you exchange the clarifications, if you are in typical government organization, you will get a standard, or majority of the places, you get a standard reply, follow tender condition.
Okay.
So, if I am a bidding on that job, what I have to do? I have to assume. I have to assume either risk or I have to anticipate an opportunity
Right.
and get myself positioned accordingly. That's why I said it starts at tender stage.
Oh. So there has to be absolute clarity, or you need to take a calculated risk
Day one.
that if you're not getting further clarity from the principal, then you need to assume there could be scenarios that can result into discomforting scenarios for the performer.
Not only discomforting, it's like a preparation. Uh, I have many examples wherein we in the pre-tender or tender finalization discussions with the senior most management of the company, the discussion used to happen at, okay, what is the risk and what are the opportunities and how are we going to encash those opportunities. So my thought process is started at that time itself when I'm bidding.
Oh,
And now depend upon the which side of the chair you sit, your strategies will work.
understood.
If I'm sitting on employer side, I will see that, okay, how I'm going to plug this. If I'm sitting on contractor side, I will see that how I'm going to encash on this.
Got it.
And that's where the whole organization need to work. So it is not a work of any individual. It's a work of an organization. And as we were discussing offline sometime back, it is need to be DNA of that organization to be there.
Agree. Agree. Since we're talking about tender and its minute things, broadly coming to contracts then, because ultimately tender is invite to get into a kind of an arrangement which culminates into a well drafted, negotiated contract, right? So, which is the one clause in construction contracts according to you, has caused maximum litigation or arbitrations?
Okay. Now, if I put it on a broader perspective, it can be basically a non-fulfillment of employer by his obligations.
Okay.
And then the subset of that would be, not granting the land in time, or variation not been determined, time impact has not been assessed,
Right.
frequent changes been made. These are all subsets of that, but largely non-fulfillment of obligation by an employer is what prominent reason for which the disputes get driven subsequently.
Employer in the sense principal, the one
Yeah,
who is involved.
employer or client or principal, whatever we say. Because for a contractor, there are a lot of remedies available with the client
Right.
to the extent that he can terminate the contract, he can descope the contract.
Right.
But for a contractor, very limited remedies are available.
How often do you see this dispute getting resolved without much of active arbitration reaching to award stage? Is there been a good examples that you come across while you were the contractor and you brought problems to principal and then principal took good cognizance of that and resolved it to have a smooth implementation or execution of your contracts?
I think if I answer this honestly, you guys will close this podcast now only, or maybe you will not ask me to invite again anytime later. But I'll still do that.
Please.
Litigation never yield any result.
Absolutely. It's
Okay.
most of the time
So-
not productive.
It's better always that you try to resolve the issue when it's right, when the time is right. Depend upon which side of the table you are.
Now I'm asking you as a contractor.
Okay. So when my rights are being established,
Okay.
my correctness of my demands are established.
Yes.
And if I don't have explicit clarity on when my money is going to get credited to my account, because ultimately for me as a contractor, getting money to my account is what the bottom line.
Absolutely.
Having award in my hand, having follow 7 years of life cycle doesn't make me sense.
Correct.
If I get maybe 50 or 30% less than also 2 years ahead of time,
You
I will
save.
prefer to do that
Correct.
than waiting for 3-4 years more.
Correct. Agreed. Agreed. What is the costliest drafting errors that you see external lawyers, like law firms or external law firms or lawyers that you end up working with to, get certain work done for the companies? What is the costliest drafting error these external lawyers often make that you have to sit and correct it?
What happens is, if you give a lawyers to draft a contract, they will bring you a document which is not workable. Because unless that particular law firm or lawyer understand what is need to be delivered, and for delivering that particular product or service, what are the challenges those will be faced by the parties? And the clauses need to be circumvent along with that or around that to find an amicable solution,
Okay.
is what going to give you a balanced contract. Majority of the time what happens is, without understanding into thing, you will just simply write down the most stringent clauses, because you are going to get paid, and if you don't do right job, you're not going to get paid.
Right.
So you will try to give most complex legal language which a layman cannot understand. Even client many times will not understand. He has to
Yes,
come back to you to get it interpreted. Your contractors, prospective contractors will not understand. So either they will jack up the prices or then forget about it or ascertain the risk among with that. And then it doesn't yield any result. Tomorrow it will lead into complication. Whereas if you formulate a very simple contract in a layman's language, see, it is not necessary that your contract clauses need to carry legal jargon.
Right.
What is essential is how effectively it communicates the intent, how effectively it communicates time is required for resolving the issue,
Right.
and if the issues doesn't resolve, how effectively it's going to take to the next level.
Understood.
If those are being captured correctly, then your contract will be a good contract.
Very well. Well said. I've dealt with some transactions where counterparties were from France, from Germany, then North American. Their contracts are very simple, very lucid, very specific. And then for some reason in India, we are getting into the habit of making it bulky contract, defining every aspect of it, and clauses, sub-clauses, and clarifications, and many things are coming. Illustrations also are getting embedded there.
I'll just go back. This takes my memory back to 1995 when I started working with Bechtel, the world's number one
American
company.
engineering infrastructure
Infrastructure
company. Yes,
company.
yes.
And when I joined them, during my first interaction with my supervisor, lead supervisor, he told me that Unmesh, you need to learn to kiss. You know what that kiss means?
Yes, keep it simple.
Keep it simple and stupid.
Nice.
So he said that the document that you're going to prepare should be such that a person who is not at all connected to the matter or a subject or a business should able to understand what you want to comment. Where you need not have to go and explain what that document is meant for. The day you possess a capability of doing it, you learn how to kiss.
Moving to the next part where, because you're into EPC contracts, infrastructure contracts, talking about few crores contract is not the routine. You must be discussing contracts worth 1,000 crores as a routine. But the claims and the amounts, they are generally not so significantly high all the time. But during the dispute scenario, it ends up, becoming much bigger. I remember reading about the Reliance's metro arbitration proceedings, where the claim award initially it went around, which was around maybe around 1,200 crores or something, but then it ended up becoming much bigger amount towards the time when the claims were put forth, and not less than 700 crore or something as a claim amount came through. Correct me if I'm wrong on the numbers, but is this a normal routine where you have a smaller amount when you are highlighting the dispute, but when you reach to court proceedings, that amount becomes much, much, much bigger, not less than 5 times to 10 times as a routine? Is this something that you see or come across as a situation regularly?
See, there are a couple of factors for that. One is master-servant relation. Okay, so that has larger significance.
What is master servant relation?
Master-servant relation is something like I got the gold, I rule the show. That means that the employer will always say that I will decide, irrespective of what is written in the contract, what I want to give you.
Okay. So EPC contract, infrastructure contracts are generally that are floated by government, and contractors end up subscribing to it by participating in tender process. But there are many unsuccessful participants who end up finding some or the other problem with the tenders, and they end up challenging that in various courts. What kind of success rate do you see a contractor challenging the tender because he was not awarded that tender on its criterias, and what has been the guidelines or the guiding principle that any contractor should follow now to understand that if you miss an opportunity, is it worth litigating for or move on to the next opportunity?
Just to unlearn this thing, basically any tender in the majority of the government main contracts nowadays comes on a twofold tendering process. One is where your technical qualification comes in the picture, which practically covers your financial ability, your actual work experience, your previously executed project, your track record of the project, whether you've been terminated, debarred, or there are any unsuccessful stories, etc., etc. And then latter part come is your pure commercial number, tender value. Majority of the time, the challenges those are coming is on the technical qualification part of the tender. Now, in some tenders, those are opened simultaneously. In many tenders, those are opened or taken up in the series. That means you submit your tender, all documents put together. It's called two pack envelope mechanism. But your technical part of envelope get open. Now envelope is no longer involved because nowadays you do e-bidding.
E-bidding.
So even in e-bidding process, your technical thing only get opened first. And then that documents are remain available in public domain because of now e-tendering process. So as a contractor, I am required to upload all those required documents in the system given by the client for the submitting the tender.
Okay.
And once those get opened, practically those remain available for the scrutiny of other bidders also, which previously not used to be a case.
So it's more to bring transparency.
Transparency.
Okay.
Okay. Now, what happens is the client do independent analysis of various submissions made on these parameters by every contractor, every bidder. Now, client make his own assessment and then declares who are the technically qualified bidders whose commercial bid will be opened.
Okay.
And then the commercial bids are opened and then the criteria of L1 or depend upon the type of organization. Now that L1 criteria is also not that rigidly followed, subsequent steps are taken.
Okay.
Now challenge comes in is very fine lines or vague criteria has been spelled out in the technical qualification requirement. And when I say technical qualification, it's the four, five items which I explained before. Now, ambiguities which are left within there leave the scope for different interpretation. And that's where, if I am an unsuccessful bidder, getting qualified in the technical round, though at that moment my commercial price will not get open.
Okay.
Okay, but I am aware what I have bidded. Now, if I happen to be lower than the successful
Final
winner, what remedy I have? I have to approach to the courts, or before submission of the tender, I have to approach to the court if the criteria are certain stringent where I am being restricted to bid the job. In both the cases, there are many judgments which basically leave the rights and owners of deciding what criteria required for the technical side or the qualification side, financial ability side, pre-experience side, whether you've been terminated, not terminated, how many years ago you should be there or not, always with the employer or the drafter. And courts are very reluctant to involve into it unless there is a very clear proof of fraud or some ringed contract.
So ultimately, it is the rule of principle. He'll decide.
Largely, yes. But there are cases wherein there are reverse judgments also.
Okay.
Recent one was like L&T's one,
Okay.
wherein one of the tender where L&T was not successful, but then that bid process was set aside. It was asked to restart the bid process. Similarly, when I was working for one of the employer in past, I'll not take a name for a no professional purpose. We had a scenario where we were unsuccessful. We were successful. Someone else has challenged it. We had tough time getting our project contract continued because it was put on hold because the court case was going on.
True. True. Unmesh, talking about the smaller aspect, which are when you are actually selected as a contractor and now you are in the workflow process and all. We all often see this, some aspects will open up or will get unfolded during the implementation or performance of contract, and some clarities are required or some undertakings are given or some indications are given in the form of side letters or email confirmations, and these are to solve the logistical issues or day-to-day challenges or problems to go about it. But these small side letters and emails, confirmations and undertakings, do they really solve the problem, or they start creating some sort of hurdles which end up resulting into impacting your overall contract performance, and especially when dispute is experienced, and how often these side letters play critical role in your dispute adjudication process?
It's have a twofold aspect we need to look at. Which come first, chicken or egg?
Nobody knows.
Okay. So, as a lawyers or as a legal heads of the companies, we always feel legal come first. For a business, turnover is important, P&L is important.
Correct.
So, according to them, that take precedence, and legal is to support and protect and safeguard.
Correct.
That's where the answer lies. It is unavoidable. Yes, it impacts your issue. But then, as a legal head of the company or as a legal professional, what you will be required to advise to your client is how to manage that in a such a way that the least effect happens.
Follow.
So that at least you can create some kind of an situations tomorrow to get it quashed or not to be considered as evidence or something like that. But be
Sorry.
it is unavoidable because ultimately I need to have a turnover of the project, and if I don't do that, as I said, that's where the master servant relation comes in a picture.
Yes. Yes.
I need to get ball rolling, so I need to do something which pleases the employer and get my turnover done.
Understood. Understood. Unmesh, despite having strong case on the principal side, or let's talk about from contractor side, since you represent contractor side majorly. Imagine a scenario where your company is in middle of arbitration and you are having very strong merits. Despite that, when arbiters propose mediations and you see some signs where there can be a possible resolution that can be achieved out of mediation, but it may not take you to the demanded or the claims that you put forth. Some compromises are required to be done on that. Would you take up that mediation angle to conclude it sooner so that you resume your work or get out of that contract effectively, or you would rather continue contesting or adjudicating on arbitration is something that you would prefer as a way forward?
Okay. See, by grace of God, I got an opportunity to work on both sides of the table for a significant time. Rather on the employer side more than a contractor side. For last probably 14 years, I'm working on a contractor side, and prior to that, I was largely working on the employer side. So when I sit in analyzing any issue, I able to switch the hats and see who will think what,
Correct.
and then depend upon where I'm sitting, and I can strategize the actions according to. So that one great advantage I get, and then I pass it down to my colleagues and my employer at the end.
Okay.
The coming back to your specific question, what it deal is what is my expected outcome, and what happens is in the Indian scenarios, there hardly any arbitrations or dispute discussions happens during the currency of the contract. During the currency of the contract, only discussions you had is certain stage of negotiations, which is again subset of contract administration. And then, as I said in the prior conversation also, that you get something which employer wants you to give at that moment.
Right.
How great you emphasize, unless you strategize your actions in such a way that you could able to identify a pain point and work towards that, then only you can able to balance out your unresolved issues at that particular moment, but which is very tough to happen.
Correct.
So what happens is when you are at a fag end and you are having a dispute, if I am sitting in an employer's shoes, I have nothing to lose because I have already the facility or services which has been built into my custody or in my operations. There's some money which I'm already holding on you. As a contractor, I'm exactly on the opposite side. I have no control of the facility or services which I have constructed because you already taken the position.
Correct.
I have outstanding dues, plus I have an outstanding payment. So there I have to balance it out, the time value money, and see that if I'm going to able to get out that money or portion of that money upfront without waiting for its entire life cycle to happen. Maybe my recommendation to the management, or even depend upon the which type of the company you're working for, the solution is that you take the money and get going with it than prolonging a dispute, because once you, as we say, common life cycle is 7 to 9 years.
Yes. Very unfortunate.
That's unfortunate today, whereas it doesn't happen in the international arena. In international arena, you can have your dispute arbitration discussion or actual proceeding happening simultaneously during the currency of the contract.
Yes.
So there the scenarios are different.
No egos there.
No issues. No issues.
Great, great. Unmesh, why do liquidated damages clauses fail in court, especially in India? But when we interact with foreign countries, like I remember French law on liquidated dispute is very strong, and so as American courts also, various states across USA. But why do we have a big challenge in India? What's your experience around this so far?
My experience says that is a challenge with understanding the definition of LD. Go to the core basic.
Can you do kiss for liquidated damages here?
Okay, I mean, from my understanding, the liquidated damage is nothing but your uh, pre-estimated losses, that to a portion or percentage of that you want to recover from this particular transaction that you do not.
Okay.
So first, for that purpose, the losses are actually need to be incurred. Then only you become entitled. Now, depend upon your contracting strategy, especially what we follow in India. There's hardly any time you actually incur a loss, but by that time, that particular contract is over. Unless you're gone for a full-fledged design build or EPC contract. No, where no other stakeholders are involved in it, no other contracting organizations are involved.
Right.
And then you're going to straight away, if that your production are going to get impacted or your services facility that you want to offer are not going to start. So those chances are very remote. So that one part. Second is, in majority of the contracts, there are non-fulfillment of obligations on account of client, which triggers contradictory to the requirement of the LD.
Okay.
So that's where your demands of LD, for sake of recovering, you will recover out of your payments payable to contractor. Though those are not required to be justified as per the law, but nowadays there are judgments where Supreme Court is asking to, or rather given a guideline that your losses are need to be established, then only you are right to recover.
Correct.
So because of that, it doesn't work or fails majority of the time, but dispute arise because of that. Because as an employer, what I'll do is I'll simply withhold that money.
Absolutely.
Okay, I will not pay that to you. You as a contractor will get alleged with that, or and then you want to trigger the dispute against it.
Moving towards last few questions, Unmeshji, want to talk about your mediation experience. Why do mediation discussions collapse in last few stages rather than, despite of having multiple rounds of conversations and months time getting invested, but when we are at the fag end, we see it getting collapsed. Why do these things happen?
Because basically from the hierarchical system, empowerment. Now, you have come across when you are interacting with your clients, you may be initially interacting with the legal representative of that organization. Then as things get unfolded, you start interacting maybe the department head, followed by maybe the CEO or CFO. Many time in the critical matters, you go up to the board.
Correct.
And then you will never get decision.
It's all discussion.
This is exactly what happens. In mediation, the topmost guys will never come on the table. The people who are on the table for discussion will not have an empowerment to make a decision. Correct? So every time there is a mechanism of I'll check and come back. So that check and come back causes a challenge. Second important point happens is greediness.
Greediness.
Yes. I always want more, right? ये दिल मांगे more.
Oh.
अच्छा 5 करोड़ है, एक काम कर 6.5 करोड़ का बात करके देख, 5.5 पे सेटल कर. But then there is a very thin line of, I always call it as a plastic and elastic limit. Now this is where my technical side comes in a picture. If you're heating a coil, for instance, and you go on stretching it, there's a one particular point up to which it will withstand. But if you pull it beyond that, it will break.
Absolutely. Yes.
Correct? So one have to understand what is that flashpoint or the trigger point where that plasticity changes to the elasticity changes to the plasticity. Till the time it is elastic, you have an opportunity to patch it up. But the minute it becomes plastic, no, it will break or it will stay. That's it. That's what exactly happened with the mediation. We never know or we hardly know that when to stop. If you are able to identify when I need to stop, then your mediation will be successful.
Wow, very true, very true. I think being very realistic is important, and
Too much, very much important. I mean, that's the essence. Actually, that's the essence. And that's why I always say that you having only legal knowledge, technical knowledge won't help you. You need to understand the business impact and consequence.
I was actually going to ask you if you to train a young lawyer for infrastructure related work as to basically to get somebody else in your team along with the kind of work you're looking at. What is the skill set that you think they need to start delivering or working on extensively?
Now, you might have wondered when you interacted with us, me and my colleagues first time, we dare to ask you what is your experience in construction dispute.
Correct.
Sole reason was we want to prefer to have our partners who understands our language.
Correct.
If you doesn't understand my language or my requirement, the time and money that I will be, infusing to make you understand and then represent me is much more than the one who readily understands it
Absolutely.
or have experience of. That's exactly what is key crux for a new people, that they need to keep their eyes and ears open when they walk around the place, go through the newspapers. Today, Google Baba to give you everything what you want.
Even if it doesn't exist, sometimes
That's the AI. That's the AI.
Google.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
so all that is available. You need to grasp. Sometimes too much grasping early is also a problem.
Yes.
So you need to find a fine balance of.
Yes.
Second important thing is the visualization capability. See, these are the problems. Please understand, in the construction dispute area, legal prominence is very limited, is a byproduct. Technical challenge and the other facade of the dispute construction is the prominent issue which triggers to that disagreements.
Okay.
And then subsequently it get converted or connected with the legal parameters of it. Now you have a more a good amount of experience in construction dispute. How many are core legal issues?
Technical issues.
Majority of the technical. So if you are going to represent a construction company or an employer,
You need to speak.
you need to understand those.
Absolutely.
So that will not just come like that.
Correct.
You need to have that capability to imagine how that has occurred. So that part. And then last but not least is time value money. And majority of the time what happens is we want to play a role of advisor. We want to sit on the fence. We don't want to get our hands wet.
Dirty.
No, I'm saying wet. Dirty तो by default होना ही है. Fence पे रहो ना, fence पे बैठोगे भी तो कीचड़ आना ही वाला है. But then if you are there in the ring, dealing with that straight away along with your other colleagues, then it's have a different teamwork, efforts, atmosphere. Everything gives you a right perspective to deal with that than playing an advisory role sitting on the edge. How you do that? This is the way you could have done it. So that's where if these basic understandings are developed over a period of time. See, this is not going to come overnight.
Yep.
Or you come out of the college, you're going to have it, or you start 1 or 2 years of your experience, you're going to have it. No, it's not. It doesn't come like that. It is pass over a journey. But you need to be keeping your studious mind open, unlearning and learning capability always on. Grasp whatever you can learn from every communication, every transaction, every contract that you deal with, and go on building up your capability.
I agree.
And that's where I think you will have a success.
Very true. Very true. I think I always communicate this part to my colleagues and team leaders. Anything that you do, sometimes my colleagues will join me in middle of a transaction because they are joining us as a new. But whenever we complete some transaction or litigation, we insist on making a summary report on that, which will have all the elements of dates, activities, with whom the interactions have taken place from time to time, from client side, internally, or some experts or the arguing counsels if it's a litigation or arbitration. And we try to have a report that is handy with us. It is not just to keep track of what we did, it is also to learn from it for future scenario. It is also to give some other team members who are not part of this work to learn from it by just analyzing that note and understanding how things flow. And it is a rarity nowadays for any lawyer to be part of a setup, be it from in-house side or a law firm side, where he is the person who started a litigation and it has concluded effectively as an entire trial.
So that's typical question I ask when I interview people for the employment angle. That okay, tell me, how many life cycles of contract administration you have dealt with? Yeah. Or what stage you have entered into and what stage you are exited out? Because unless you have a couple of life cycles, you will not able to understand. And one of the thing which is again come in the picture is peculiarity. Yeah. And we always say that each and every contract is independent. You can infer it, you cannot refer it. So, unless you have multiple life cycle experiences or handling multiple contracts or multiple litigations at different stage, you will not able to get that acquaintance of information, knowledge, strategy placements. All that is anywhere required as you grow in yourselves. So more early you will start practicing on yourself. Better will be for your credit, establishing your own credibility, because ultimately it's a relationship.
Yes. For us as a law firm, Unmeshji, especially when we have a substantial litigation work, I always recommend my colleagues that, experience one trial properly, experience one litigation from start to end, and that experience stays with you like a muscle memory forever.
Absolutely.
Similarly, for one transaction, you start right from the first inception of initial MOU or term sheet in a typical M&A or acquisition or any kind of commercial documentation, and you be there till it is getting executed, not just the contract signing and completion, till its actual work completion. If you're there, you will have an experience that will remain with you forever, and basis of that, you will start thinking more on how solutions can be created. And so next time when you're coming across same scenario, you'll be better at implementing it in a shorter and crisp manner with some smart inputs and tweaks that you will be doing, which you were learning for you from the first scenario. We also do a lot of redevelopment related work for societies, and I've written a book also on that.
I've seen that.
This 54 legal secrets. Now there we've started and finished not just the documentation, but entire society's redevelopment work, and we've been part of their activities. And after finishing few societies related work, we realized that there are so many same challenges. So many societies are facing same set of challenges because stakeholders are same, objective is same, demolishing and constructing new building. But if someone gets to see the entire life cycle in one transaction, that person is actually gaining knowledge that can give him more valuable positions in future in many of the places, be it in law firms or in-house roles or independent consultant also to go with. So sincere request is always to all the lawyers and attorneys, or be it your in-house or in the firms or independent practice, try to get those early days experience of experiencing the entire life cycle of transaction or litigation. That can be a different driving factor, and I think that makes you a complete lawyer also in that sense.
One more point which I think which I learned in my life, which I want to put it here, is as a profession in which we are, we doesn't produce anything of our own. We have a input data which is prepared by or encountered by someone else,
Specifically non-lawyer most of the times.
and majority them non.
Yes, yes.
Then you develop something out of that,
Correct.
and present it in front of again someone else. And then whatever they interpret is what the decisions you're going to get.
Absolutely.
So you are what? You are just a catalyst. That requires a relationship management building and the alliance logic. If you start taking a stance that I know everything, I will do only the way I want, it is not going to work. Because ultimately, you are need to deliver for someone's pain,
Correct.
but then you need to understand his pain. Now, he is not able to communicate to you his pain, or if you are not able to understand his pain correctly, or whatever you have prepared, if he is not able to comprehend or appreciate that, how your person who's going to interpret that on his own and give a decision will be able to do that.
Very true. Very
So this manufacturing belt that we are in, we are just playing a role of a catalyst.
agree. Very well said. Very well said.
Okay, so therefore, this is my learning line which I want to translate down to my other colleagues. Is one, you need to be a troubleshooter. You need to create an image of a troubleshooter. Second, you need to be understanding the importance of relationship management.
That's very critical.
Very, very critical, which is not at all what is your core domain expertise,
Absolutely.
and where we largely lack.
Nobody teaches us this.
Nobody, there's no subject.
There's
There's no subject relationship
Yeah.
management,
Yeah.
but that plays such a vital role. Even if you don't have technical skills, you can live with this
Yes.
relationship concept
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and be a team player. If you doesn't remain a team player, your efforts will not get success, and then the garland of failure will come and set on your lap.
Yes. I remember there is a very famous author as well as he's a influencer also in that sense, Simon Sinek. He talks about relationship as his, core subject in every aspect. And simplest thing that he mentioned in one of the podcast or on fireside chat part was, if you are sitting in conference room with many of your colleagues, generally you gather and it takes 5-10 minutes to kickstart the meeting, right? The typical scene nowadays is you'll have 10-20 people in conference room, but all of them will be, or most of them will be on their phones,
Yes.
doing the last minute checks or some messages, or some of them might just show they're busy, but they're afraid of having the conversation, assuming that some people are not interested or some people are important, some people are busy and all those things. His technique or his sharing is remove the phone from the conference rooms, mobiles, and let a normal conversation to happen. Somebody sitting next to you, you should be asking about him, about his family, about his hobby, about his sport. And if someone is having any kind of challenge or, some medical emergency at home or some challenge, then offer them help. The relationship should start building there. And that person will remember this gesture. He will come back at you with positive support and probably he'll extend that to somebody else also. We try to do that in our office sometimes where we are doing conversations and meetings. We do strategic team alignment meeting every quarter and we try to keep phones away. Normal conversations to happen, not within the same team. We make sure sitting is also designed in such a way that you are not sitting with the same team.
Correct.
And that is all to create, those possible environments where you will be interacting with people without agenda, without your, work to get done kind of, mindset, but to open up.
See, nowadays we prefer to send a message than pick up a phone and speak.
Yes. Formal. It's become so formal that.
It's become so formal. I remember, of course, not subject related, but still I would like to put this on a table for understanding. We are in Mumbai. Local train journey is a part and parcel of our life once or not once, somewhere or other.
Yes.
What used to happen about 5-6 years, even 10 years back, when you're traveling by train, a local train, in the compartment is full, but You used to chit chat with the people who is sitting next to you. You used to peep into the newspaper that he has folded and read out of it, or some conversation used to happen.
I remember people used to
People used to sing together.
yeah.
You know, there are many groups which exist even today, who once they get into one station, they will go on, creating a recreation or no some kind of a singing process throughout the journey. Nowadays, what happens?
Mobile.
Everyone is there on mobile. No, we stop talking.
Yeah. Unfortunate. Very unfortunate.
I mean, uh, I come across working in some organizations wherein what you rightly said, no phones, no laptops.
Yeah.
In the conference room, you are not allowed to take anything. You want to present, give it to the administrator of the meeting, your part, he will display. Only one laptop in the room, which is connected to the projector.
Superb.
Your phones are out, your laptops are out, your tabs are out, nothing.
People get heart attacks sometimes because of this. I have seen a scenario where there was one intern was asked not to use phone because of some observation, and after for 2-3 hours, the intern that was not having phone with her had a mini panic attack,
Could we? Yeah.
saying that I need to speak to someone, I need to have my phone with me. I'm not used to having not phone with me.
So more we become tech savvy is have a disadvantage too, like what the
Yes.
good advantages are.
Yes, agree.
Sure.
Now, our last question. Looking ahead 5 years, do you see contract administration becoming a board level function, and what must legal teams change today to reach to that position?
See, contract administration, we have to understand it's a parallel stream. It's a support function. It's a parallel stream of business execution. So it will gain and more importance. Reason being, one prominent reason is the probability of dispute getting into arbitration with the latest, not latest now to say June 24 memo of Department of Expenditure under Ministry of Finance limiting arbitration about 10 crore, no arbitration about 10 crore, not recommended arbitration about 10 crore, is going to put more and more issues in the courts. Many states, many public departments have already made notifications.
They are following.
They're following, they're bringing up the changes. Now that leads to what? That leads to how you have unsettled disputes. Those are going to go under land in the court. Now that means what? Your life cycle from 7 years is going to go to 10 years or 15 years. Now is that affordability there for the companies in India? That means, and also there's a government's thrust on mediation. Now they are already going to remove with this new amendment of Arbitration Act coming in, the conciliation part is going to get override by the 2023 Mediation Act. I have seen that amendment. I just pending formal issuance. So that happens, mediation become a prominent dispute resolution mechanism. And in mediation, unless you have an hands-on experience of dealing with the things, providing pros and cons of that particular issue at that particular moment, which is going to come from the help of contract admin. It's not going to, then only you will have a solutions. Otherwise, you cannot take every matter to the court. So therefore, what you rightly said, it is not only going to be a requirement at the board level, but it will become a requirement of a successful organization process also.
True.
So and then legal will come part and parcel of it. See, majority of the organizations, what happens is contract administration departments are different. Then when the dispute arises, then that whole basket goes back to the legal team and then they take care of it, but then there's a disengagement happens. And then you end up, if you are a part of that legal team, you end up running from pillar to post to get the information. In certain organizations like ours where I work for, it is a part and parcel of the same department. So there you have to provide end-to-end solution. So if that kind of concept get developed in an organization, I think it's a more organizational friendly to yield a faster, effective and economical solutions. So yes, contract administration will have a seat in the board, In addition to contract admin, what get allied now attached is a risk, enterprise risk management. That also is becoming a very important function. And majority of the places you will find that it is clubbed together in the same department, not two different departments or two different verticals.
I think it's perfect combination also to work, because hand in hand you need to keep on evaluating risk at all stages, before, during, after scenario kind of.
Yes. And risk and opportunities both comes in the picture.
Okay. True. With this, Unmesh, we conclude our today's session of DDR. Thank you so much for bringing such great clarity. Your experience of more than 3 decades speaks in volumes about what you have seen, what you have dealt with, and how important it is for those who want to be part of such big groups, big companies that are managing the most critical projects of India. And while doing that, the internal management of risk as well as legal is in your hands. And we are happy to see that, you've been not only just doing it, but making a great difference in that. And parallel to that, you are also enabling your team members and internal colleagues to learn a lot of important things. So you're doing great bit of there as well to enhance and bring more leaders in future as well. Thank you so much, and we are looking forward to having more and more such sessions.
It's my pleasure too, and thank you for offering this opportunity so that I can speak out or I can convey what I learned a bit, because one of thing I was taught is sharing is expanding. So just a process of sharing something which you have learned helps you to expand yourself much more, because it's opportunity to unlearn and learn it again.
Perfect. Aligns to our vision also.
Thank you very
Perfect.
much.
Thank you so much.